restoring Illinois to greatness. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute and hosted by AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with John Tillman, President and CEO of the Illinois Policy Institute. And John, the big story locally this week, of course, is the indictment of the Chicago police officer, Jason
Rapid justice.
Yeah, right. Jason Van Dyke, and the release of the video subsequent to that indictment. Maybe the indictment had something to do with the release. The knowledge that the video was coming after the city tried to suppress the public release of that dash cam video, which is a public record. But I digress. Look, the video released of Laquan McDonald's shooting death 13 months ago. Right. And what this says about kind of the political culture in the city of Chicago, how this case was handled, how the response now that it can no longer be ignored or put off for somebody's political ambitions because of the judge's decision to release the video. Because, the political culture drives the law. It drives the law across the board. It matters economic and it matters non-economic. And so, your reaction, like everybody who's weighing in on this after seeing the video and understanding, trying to understand, I suppose, why it took 13 months to get to this point.
Well, there's so much that is hard to understand. It's hard to understand why it takes 16 shots when somebody falls after the first or second shot, especially when he's moving away from the officer in question. And the video is just so disturbing on so many levels. And then you take that and you put that off on a shelf and try to understand it, which is difficult. Then you realize that the entire political system in the city of Chicago, as you have long talked about, is designed to benefit those who control the political system of the city of Chicago. And the people, the voters, the taxpayers, the people struggling to eke out a family living on the south and west side in particular, the others, if you will, who are not part of the power elite in Chicago,
right,
are merely pawns in this. And sometimes you can't have the people that you're trying to control have information. And, of course, if this had come out prior to the mayoral election, maybe that mayoral election might have gone a little bit differently. The mayor had a runoff. Nobody was expecting to have a runoff. What if this had been out and had built in the months prior to that election this past spring? And so...
Yeah, it would have crystallized the issue of violence on the streets of Chicago and also, to some extent, the relationship between police and at least segments of the city's population. There's no question about it. That the Mongo is pawn in game of life that you're talking about is real. I mean, people are treated like less thans by the Chicago Democrat power structure. And it seems to me this is an opportunity to do what my friend Deborah Rowe always told me to do in terms of, you want conservatives to do a better job connecting with the African-American community, for example. Some of it's very simple. Just stand up when you should stand up and be a truth teller. And the truth is the Chicago Democrat power structure has robbed minority communities in particular, the city in general, of economic opportunity, of safe streets, of access to good schools. And maybe this is an inflection point where you can have a conversation that is beyond just this incident between this young man and this police officer.
Well, and you named the three things that a municipality or local government should do. It's public safety, education, and opportunities for income and prosperity for your family. They fail on all three over and over and over again. And, you tie this back into the school system that Laquan came up through. And how does a person come up through that school system? And he's just one of many, thousands upon thousands upon thousands over the years who come through a dysfunctional system that you know the numbers better than I, that kids graduating, first of all, the graduation rate is very poor, and those who do graduate are often not at level in terms of their math and reading skills, don't go on to college.
And so they're out at a truck stop robbing.
So they're out, exactly, because that is the only way they know how to try to get by. It's the culture. And then let's get into that a little bit. The culture that is created in these places that are monopoly controlled politically, where a culture of violence is created. I always get a kick out of when they talk about the availability of guns. There are African-American communities all over this country that are middle class and even upper middle class where there's lots of guns and there's no violence. Maybe we should be comparing the successful African-American communities in suburban Washington, D.C., in parts of Maryland, in Mississippi, and in Alabama, and in Georgia, particularly Georgia and suburban Atlanta, where there are successful African-American communities, where they have guns and nobody's shooting each other. And they have occasional Laquan McDonalds, but it's a rarity rather than the norm as it is in Chicago.
And maybe this is an opportunity to reintroduce political competition, political pluralism in the city of Chicago, give people a choice they may finally start making.